Improve it. Improve it. Podcast. Improve it, peeps. Welcome to the show this month, the month of June 2024. We're talking all about becoming the highest versions of ourselves, letting go of control of what or who we think we should be, remembering what we are put here to do, and going forward unapologetically. I love this word, becoming, so much. I want you to stop and ask yourself, what does becoming mean to you? I want you to really think about this answer. And I'm going to give you a second here to actually come up with an intention, because I always ask our guests to set a one-word intention at the top of the show. And today I realized, why have I not asked you this question, my amazing Improve It peeps? What is one word you want to get out of today's show? What is your intention? What is the one thing that made you click play? And what do you want to walk away with? This is your valuable time, my friend. And I can guarantee you that what you do and what you set intentionally will almost always find its way to you. So set that intention now. Go ahead. I'm right here. And now that you are intentional about your time, let's hear more about our guest and how she's going to help us become the highest versions of ourselves. Kamini Wood, a certified life coach, helps high achievers heal their relationship with themselves. She helps people take courageous steps in identifying limiting beliefs, reasons for stagnation, and overcoming self-doubt in order to live a fulfilling professional and personal life. Kamini is the creator of Authentic Me and the CEO of Live Joy Your Way, a coaching company helping high performers and achievers who have seen success through old-rooted traditional metrics reestablish their relational self-awareness. She's a best-selling author holding certifications in various modalities, including life, wellness, high-performance coaching, teen life, conscious uncoupling, calling in the one, new money story, breathwork, meditation, and diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. Get ready for an impactful show all about overcoming perfectionism, quieting your inner critic, and becoming unapologetically you. Without further ado, let's get to improving it with Kamini Wood. Listen, I've already had 500 mishaps before hitting record on this show with you. You've seen the recovering perfectionist in action, and it's not pretty. It's not pretty. So I'm excited to chat with you today as a recovering perfectionist. I know so many people who listen to this show also struggle with perfectionism. We're having you on the show the month of June, and we have a theme for this month, and it's all about becoming. So before we go any further, I'd love for you to set an intention, either for yourself, our listeners, one word that just comes to mind to guide our conversation.
Ooh, what a great question. In line with the becoming, I would actually invite people to unmask.
Oh, okay. I'm loving that. I've never had that one before, and I love it. Okay, so much to unpack with that, and we're going to get to it. I want to talk about the month intention, becoming. What does becoming mean to you?
For me, I think becoming is about allowing yourself room to realign with who you are on a deeper level. And what I mean by that is realigning with what your needs are, what your values are, because when we allow for that, we can actually become who we were meant to be and who we are being called to be.
Okay, Kamini, I am here for that, because that word realign just made me kind of sit up straighter, even though my lower back is killing me. It made me feel like I needed to align myself back into my body. And just even when you are becoming this higher version of yourself, it is all about alignment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. And I intentionally use the word realign because I think honestly we all already know those things. I mean, when we come into this world, we are aligned. It's we then we're dealt either experiences or messages and we internalize them and we make them mean other things along the way. And so when we're becoming, we actually are going through a process of realignment.
I am so here for that. Can I just tell you? Okay. When you're like meant to have a conversation, as I was prepping this show today, I was thinking to myself, I feel like we have so much, I'm going to say this word, synergy. I want to kick myself for saying it, but I felt that through all of your copy, all of the things that you're about. It was so interesting. And that thought right there about coming in, knowing who we are and trying to spend our lives remembering that has been a thought that I've actually really been thinking about as we're talking about this topic. And I believe we get amnesia. Like the moment we get in the womb, we're like, okay, our soul forgot, but it's our purpose to remember.
Yes. 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 Oh my gosh.
Oh my,
totally aligned
I'm
with
like
that thought.
so here for this. Okay. So, all right. Now, do you have, and I was looking through your bio, just all the information you can find on you online, but is there anything maybe we can't find in your bio? Maybe there's something that we don't know about how you stepped into your power, how you became this version of yourself, because you are doing so many great things.
Well, you might be able to find some of it online, but I think part of the story for me is, I'm a recovering perfectionist as well, and also a people pleaser. And so there was a big part of my story that included following the path of making sure everyone around me was okay. So in order for me to get to where I am today, it was giving myself permission to decide for myself, what is it that I actually want to do? What is it that I feel called to do? And then giving myself permission to step into that regardless of what other people's reaction to it is. And it's not about not caring about their reaction, but not making their reaction dictate what I choose to do.
So freaking good. I resonate with that on such a deep level. We talk a lot about perfectionism and people pleasing on this show, but we don't really dive into how to change it, right? Like we're all about like, these are things. And that's why I'm so excited to chat with you here today. Now, I know that you have so many certifications and modalities of helping others heal. I've seen that we can find online.
Yes.
But what led you to these certifications? What led you to this specific path?
So for me, in terms of going into the different modalities and the different certifications, what I recognized is that each one of us assimilates information differently, or we process information differently. And so if I was really going to be in service to individuals, if I tried to put them into a box and say, well, this is the way that I'm going to talk to you and this is how we're going to work through this, rather than utilizing my ability to understand different modalities so that when I show up, I can allow that person to come to those conversations and be exactly who they are. And then I maneuver through figuring out which modality would serve them best, or at least would give them the room to explore what they needed to explore. That made more sense to me than saying, let me put you into this box and make you understand it this way. Like, so for example, cognitive behavioral based coaching works for a lot of people, but for other people, they get really stuck in their thoughts. And if I try to push that onto them and make them think their way through it, it's not going to be of service, versus if I take a somatic approach and they can tell me what their body's feeling and what that feels like in their body and take that bottom up approach, we're still going to be able to work through it together. Recognizing that for me made more sense than just simply saying, let me learn this one thing and then put everybody into that box. Because for me, it is about service. It is about how can I serve the person sitting in front of me and take them as they are, rather than trying to get them to fit into some type of box that I have for them.
Oh my God. I love that. I love that. And that, I think, is such a well-rounded approach. And the individual can feel that, like when they know that you're working with them, customizing it for them, feeling their energy in conversation, and you have all these different tricks to pull out of the bag to help them. It's so cool. So kudos to you for going. That's a lot of different things that I was looking on your website that you're certified in.
Also, I'm also a nerd. I really love this stuff.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
So I don't shy away from it. I'm like, this is so interesting to me. Like for instance, learning about IFS, right? Learning parts work. That makes so much sense to me. And then the ACT-based coaching where you're going through, acceptance and commitment. And then actually for me, it's about kind of merging some of these modalities together and kind of creating my own way of working with people. And so far it's been working.
It's so cool. No, good for you. And I'm also a nerd. Like, I love this stuff on a real deep level. I also have like a spiritual twist to it all. So I'm super here for this conversation. I love this. Okay. So we're going to go. And literally, this could not be a more perfect time to chat with you, because I feel like as a recovering perfectionist, I'm just going to give the audience some tangibles here. I've had like 7 fails today already. Like half of them happened talking to you. And I'm just like, this conversation could not come at a more perfect time. So I'm so excited to dive into. Okay, now I was reading about this in your bio and online. I know, but I would love for you to share. Is there a personal story with perfectionism and how it affected your life, maybe from growing up, maybe from something that happened to you that led you to this specific path as well?
Yeah. So growing up, I did grow up in a predominantly white town in Connecticut. So mom came to the States when she was 13, dad when he was 19. So immigrant parents, I'm first generation American. Like I mentioned, predominantly white town. So when I first went to grade school, you walk into school and I clearly, as a 5-year-old, knew I looked different. And of course, a name like Kamini is going to stick out. It's not like all the rest of the other children in the classroom. And so from a very early age, there was that, how do I solve this feeling of not belonging? At 5 years old, I didn't know that that's what I was doing, but that's what my little self was doing. How can I fit in here? How can I be part of this group? And so a lot of the people pleasing started at that point, because if people were quote unquote okay with me or happy with me, then I felt like, okay, they accept me. I can be part of this group. At the same time, for me, watching my parents work really hard to provide for my sister and I, what my little self didn't want to do is be a burden. It was a big thing for me from a very early age. If I didn't want to be a problem, I didn't want to be a burden. I didn't want them to have to worry about me beyond just, and it wasn't because they said anything to me. That was just part of who I am. It's part of my personality. And so the perfectionism started to take hold as soon as I got into school, because that's kind of where you're going to start seeing it, right? Because you don't want your parents to worry about your classwork or your homework or things like that. And so I was very diligent about getting all of those things done. I worked really hard, did not want to make mistakes at school, because again, then they would have to worry, now I'm being a burden. And so all of that carried with me throughout my teenage years into adulthood. Did not really fully understand where it was affecting me until I became a mom, though. So became a mom. I'm a mom by 5. My oldest is actually 22. She's a ballerina, a professional ballerina. My youngest is 10 at the time that we're recording this. But at the time when all this was happening, so before I had started my practice, so we're talking about, I would say about 9 years-ish ago, middle daughter was entering preteen stage, and I started seeing my kiddos mirroring back to me a lot of people-pleasing perfectionist tendencies and how the anxiety was really rising. From that, them mirroring that, I recognized that they were actually learning those behaviors and the ways of showing up from me. And if I wanted something to be different for them, I needed to take ownership of what was happening for me. It sounds super simple. It was an evolution, right? It was multiple moments of recognition until finally it was like almost this wake up call, catalyst moment, if you will. And that's when I went through my self-transformation and worked on myself and recognized like, oh, wow, that's where I learned 5-year-old Kamini internalized certain things. 6-year-old Kamini internalized certain things and took on these perfectionist, people-pleasing tendencies, this need to make sure everyone else was taken care of, forgetting that I had needs, putting them to the back burner, constantly over-functioning in all of that, making sure that, again, everything else was taken care of. recognizing that as I understood that about myself, I could make changes, right? I always say to people, awareness is the doorway to change. So same thing that I experienced for myself, went through that work. And it is work. It's not something that just is, you flip a switch and suddenly it changes, because those are behavior patterns and they're mindset patterns. So went through that. And as I went through that, recognize that even professionally, every role that I had, I would always come back to helping people figure out what it was that they needed to grow and expand. And that was my wake up call of saying, oh, wow, these two things are actually meant to be together. And I'm actually meant to create some type of business. At that moment, I didn't know what it was, but some type of business where I get to work with people and helping them figure out what it is that will help move them forward. And recognizing, okay, I can do this through coaching. What type of coaching? And henceforth, all of the different trainings and the modalities. Why? Again, so I can serve people wherever they are, and what information and how they assimilate information. And so there you go. That's where I am.
Such first of all, thank you, because that's like a really vulnerable story, and you have to every time, I'm sure, go back and retell it. It conjures up some failings, most likely, but you've worked through them too, and you have done the work, and you're a living, breathing example of what it's like to feel in your being and who you are. I have a purpose here, and it took you kind of doing that work to find your purpose. And I know it was hard in the beginning, but you also got to this really beautiful place and are in service to others. So kudos to you for doing that work, because a lot of people don't. First of all, I love that you said awareness is key, because so many people go through life, and I have this quote in my room, like sleepwalking. They don't really know that that's their pattern. They don't understand it. They can't see the bird's eye view. They're just so in it. And you were able to do that. And you were able to see the pattern and disrupt the pattern and create a ripple effect of change. And also the fact that you're a mom and just had that awareness. And I'm sure so many people listening can relate, because I definitely took like a deep inhale when you were talking about being a perfectionist and people pleaser and seeing it in your child, because I'm like, oh, I don't want him to have I have a 4.5-year-old, but like he's growing up with two very, type A recovering perfectionist parents. And I can already see that as he starts going through school. So I wanted that backstory, because I know you have so many tools to help people, and that's what I want to get to. So thank you for sharing that. It's a beautiful story. Let's talk about the perfectionism signs. Are there any common signs or behaviors, since we know awareness is so key, that people can be aware of when it comes to perfectionism?
Yeah, so I think it's different for different people, but I think a lot of the common signs that we're going to see, or one major common sign would be that judge or the inner critic that pops up, that voice that continually says that it's not good enough. Or another common sign is paralysis, not able to move forward. Why? Because with perfectionists, they're so scared of making a mistake or trying something and failing at it that they will just stop. They won't move themselves forward. And I think those are two really, really common things that pop up with perfectionism. A lot of times people will say, I'm a procrastinator. And I usually dive into that one, because I think that that's actually perfectionism. That could be, not all the time, but it definitely has shown to be more of a symptom of the perfectionist underlying, because a lot of times with procrastination, there's a fear of loss of control or a fear of uncertainty. And so, because with procrastination, there's the emotional aspect, and then there's the actual motivation aspect, right? And if you're looking at that emotional aspect, a lot of times we will find it's related to loss of control or some type of fear of uncertainty. And that can be related to perfectionism as well. So when there is this sort of, I can't seem to move myself forward, or I have a lot of great ideas, but I don't seem to execute any of them, that could actually be perfectionism at play.
Okay, interesting. Because I also love this connection that you mentioned earlier too, about people pleasing and perfectionism. How do those two, they typically go hand in hand, right? Like they're typically one of the same, or no?
I don't know that they're the same, but I do think that a lot of perfectionists will say that they're also a people pleaser, or vice versa. Because again, with people pleasing, we're focused on the other person and making sure that whatever's okay, we're avoiding conflict. There's an element of perfectionism in that, right? Like, I don't want anything to be wrong. I don't want it to go awry. I want to control the situation. Control is a big aspect of perfectionism. So even when we're talking about intrinsic perfectionist or extrinsic perfectionist, a lot of it boils down to sense of control. I want to either control internally what's happening, or I want to control what's happening externally. So like, we're dealing, sometimes as parents, we might start to show that extrinsically, where we want our children to be perfect, right? That we have the really high expectations of our children. Or if we're a business owner, we have really high expectations of our employees. That could be extrinsic perfectionism. Ultimately, it's a sense of control. Why do we want control? Because we want certainty. Why do we want certainty? Because we really just want safety. Oh
my God. Goes back to the inner child. Oh my God. It's so good, Kamini. I'm like, this is like a live therapy session for all recovering perfectionists and people pleasers. I grew up moving a lot. So I also, anytime, I know that's where my perfectionism and people pleasing comes from, because I was just like me. I want to avoid conflict at all costs. I want to fit in. I want to belong.
I want to belong. Yes. Because if we think about what we need if we boil it down, most often it's safety, it's belonging, it's mattering.
Totally. And I think all of those things, at some point in someone's life, they've wanted one of those three things. And especially if that happens in childhood, if you're, I think those stick with you much longer, right? I would assume. We're all just carrying the wounds of our childhood. Okay. So, oh God. Okay. Let me stay here. Now, I also want to talk about strategies, because that I know is what our peeps, our Improve peeps, that's the name of our audience, what they listen for. So is there one specific strategy that is your go-to tool when you start to see that perfectionist tendency rise? Yes. Do you have one? Could you give it to me? Can I use it right now?
Okay. Yeah, I will give you mine. I call it out. Okay. I name it. I call it out, acknowledge that it's there. Just really give yourself permission to notice, name, acknowledge. Because once we call it out, we then have the power to decide if we're going to put our energy into it, or if we're going to shift into more values-based action.
Oh my God, I love it. Do you have it? Like, do you name it like a person, or do you just say that's my perfectionism?
I will name even the thought, like, oh, there it is. I'm afraid of making a mistake, or I'm having the thought that if I make this mistake, the world's going to end. Call out the exact thing that's happening, right? Because if you name it, it's like shame. How do we unshame? We actually speak the things that we're shaming ourselves for, because it takes its power out of it, the wind out of its sails, so to speak. Same thing with perfectionism. Name it, call it out. What is the thought you're having? Because we're going to have 1,000 thoughts, but multiple thousands of thoughts a day. We get to choose which ones we're going to put our energy into. So if you call yourself out for the perfectionist thought or the catastrophic thinking, because that's usually the one that we go to as perfectionists, call it out. We then can say, okay, well, what's actually true, or what is the thing that I actually want to put my energy into right now? Because I can choose to do that, and I know what rabbit hole I'm going to go down. But then at least we're making an empowered decision, and we can own the fact that we went down the perfectionist rabbit hole.
I love it. And it's awareness. It comes back to awareness. Oh, I love that. Okay. These are all things that make sense to me, to the world. Okay. So then I'm thinking about, so we've called this sort of like, we've called it out, right? We've told ourselves, okay, now we know where we're going. We've decided, okay, I'm going to choose. If I choose to go down this negative rabbit hole, I know what the outcome is going to be. I'm going to be on the internet looking up, like, what type of disease I have, which is, I'm a future tripper. I'm like, like my lower back's ring. I'm like, there's definitely a tumor in it. And then I just like go down the rabbit hole.
And Dr. Google takes over.
Yeah, Dr. Google takes over. So I'm just gonna call it out. We're future tripping. We're looking at Dr. Google, and then we're gonna decide whether or not to go down that rabbit hole or change the tune and decide to say I'm healthy in mind, body, spirit, which is my go-to mantra.
Right. You go to your mantra, you go to what's actually true, or you just say, you know what? I have a choice here. What would be the most meaningful thing that I could do for myself right now, or meaningful for me right now? And maybe it's an action that has nothing to even do with what's going on with the lower back. Maybe it's like, you know what? values-based action right now is to go hang out with my child. I'm going to go spend the next 10 minutes with my child and just be present with your child.
Okay, can we talk about values-based action? Because you keep bringing that up. What is values-based action?
It is knowing what's meaningful to you and then being able to take an action that relates to one of those things. So I use the kiddo for an example because one of my main values, obviously, right now in my life is motherhood. So for me, a lot of times if I need to reground in the present moment, I know that I'm spinning out. Anxiety might be taking over. It's like I call it out. And then a values-based action could be, I'm going to spend the next 5 to 10 minutes just spending time with one of my kids and being present with them. And it regrounds you in the present moment because I, like you, am a future tripper. It's kind of where I go. It's like, what could happen? Let me come up with all of the solutions. And it's, well, I need to be in the present moment because that's where life is happening. How do I get there? Come back to a values-based action, connect to the present moment. Values-based action is something meaningful to me. So it's going to be different for each one of us. And that connects us back to ourselves. Now we're in an empowered place. Now we're connected to ourselves. Now we can make a decision of what's next after that.
Okay. So do you have a list of values-based action? Like, how do you know in that moment, I want to go spend the time with my child? Like, tell me that.
I am totally a believer in cheat sheets. So you start with your values, figure out what your values are, core values. I always say that's the groundwork that I do with my clients. Like, number one thing, we got to figure out what your core values are. Then you come up with a cheat sheet of what are some go-to values-based actions, because when you're in the moment of spinning out, a lot of times it's very difficult to come up with one of those things. So you find, you figure out what's my cheat sheet, and I can pick something off of it. A lot of my clients, I say, have it on your phone. There's no shame in having a cheat sheet of values-based actions on your phone. When you're having one of those moments, you pull up your phone, your notes, and you pick one of the things that makes the most sense for you in that moment and go do it.
Oh my God, I love it. This is now the homework. Okay, so I'm writing that down because that is fantastic. And I want to do that. I have a bliss list. Okay, I call it my bliss list.
Yes.
Which is things that bring me joy. And I guess to make the connection to the core values, I think is interesting. So I think I want to redo this and create, okay, here are my core. And could we do this together to give somebody an example of how this works? And I'll be the guinea pig. Can we just do this real quick?
Sure.
Okay. So my values are family, faith, or family spirituality. I kind of feel like the mindfulness goes hand in hand with that. And then like community, I think. And
the top 4.
And also my career, but I don't want a career to go in there because I love my career, but I've centered it around those things. So, okay. So those are my
family, spirituality, community, and mindfulness.
Yes.
Okay. So when you think of family, what are 1 or 2 values-based actions that would be related to family? And they don't have to be big.
Yeah. Okay. So spending time without my phone. I think that's a big one. Spending time without my phone. Spending, intentional time, like creating an experience too, I think is also important. And I also think for family, like for me, I'm really big on like, I want to put my son to bed every night, or not every night, but as many nights as possible.
Right. Awesome. Okay. So those things would go on the list in terms of faith, spirituality. What are a couple values-based
This
actions?
is really helpful. Like if somebody is listening, I feel like this is like, boom, we're going to do this now. So you'll come up with your 4 core, like 4 to 5, and then you make the list, right? Okay. So faith. Okay. For me, it's meditation every day. So a morning meditation, an afternoon one, and a gratitude list is really important.
Okay.
So that's important. Okay. And then what is my next one?
You had community.
Community. I think it's just connecting with people in person, or if I have to online, which is also great. Like right now, this is a new community. Okay, Kamini, now we're
community.
We're a community. We're a community. But no, truly like connecting with like-minded people or people who have different views, but understanding them, I think is also like a really cool thing. So connecting with people. And I love this acronym, HOPE, help one person every day. So with that in mind, helping somebody.
Yes.
In some way, serving.
Yep.
Okay.
So another small values-based action could simply be pick up the phone and call somebody, right? Pick up the phone and connect. And so then the last one you had was mindfulness. So like what's 1 or 2 that you could come up with that one?
Yeah, I would say I want to use what you taught me today. I want to change. I want to acknowledge those perfectionist thoughts, and then I want to, either choose to go down the rabbit hole or change it to a more kind, loving thought instead.
Mm-hmm. So now you got your list, right? Boom. You got it. And you can even expand on that. It's like, okay, like we just did, like I just did with the connection, like-minded people. What does that mean? Maybe it's picking up the phone. Maybe it's texting somebody, right? You come up with even smaller bite size, because sometimes we really can't, we're so spun out. We just need something super small. So you have you have a range of things that you can do. And then in the moment, right, you're regrounding, you pick one of those values-based actions.
Okay, everybody better hire you as their coach immediately. That was life-changing, okay? Immediately. We're going to put our links to all the things in the show notes, but that was so good. And it's so nice because then you don't have to fumble. You're like, oh, let me go to my list, pick one core value to do right now in this moment to recenter, reground, realign. And there you are.
Yes.
Oh my God, I love it. That is so beautiful. I literally don't think on this show we've ever taken perfectionism and like boiled it down to this level. So this is beautiful. I really love that. And I think anyone listening, you have to do that cheat sheet. Like that is just incredible. Okay. Now,
side note. Another reason why the cheat sheet works with perfectionists is because as perfectionists, we'll get caught up in now I don't know how to do it the right way.
Yes. That is so true. And I'm just not going to do anything.
Right. Which is why cheat sheets come handy because they're already done.
Do you think we all have lists? Like, do you think all perfectionists just have lists on lists?
No, I don't. I actually think that we need more lists because what happens is we get stuck in I don't know the right way to do this and I don't want to mess it up. And so if we actually give ourselves permission to have more cheat sheets and more lists, we don't have to do a thinking in the moment.
Oh, it's so good. Like that is so good. Okay. So this is just a purely curious question as I was planning for today. And this is something I did plan to ask you. This is actually really good. This might answer my own question, but I'm thinking about perfectionism. I'm thinking about exposure therapy, and I'm thinking about just that line of thinking. Is there any type of exposure therapy that you've ever done with a perfection?
Yes.
She's laughing. Yes. Okay. Tell us. Okay, Kamini, we need to know. Where do we got to go? What do we got to do? Do we have to do a cold plunge? Do we have to walk a plank? What are we doing?
I actually have challenged clients to go ahead and like make a mistake on purpose. Like go ahead and do the thing. Because that's the thing that we're so afraid of. And if we can just get into, naming the fear and actually calling out what it is that we're scared of, most of the time we recognize that there's catastrophic thinking. So the exposure therapy part is go ahead and make a little tiny mistake and then step back into observer mode and notice nothing shattered. The world is still spinning. You are still safe, right?
Yes.
And you don't have to make it a huge mistake. Like I'm not saying go mess up your taxes or something, but little tiny mistakes. It's okay. Everything is okay. I'm okay. I'm safe, right? Then you can start building the muscle around, hey, mistakes are going to happen and it's okay.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Okay. All right. So what mistake are we making today, everyone? I know many of us are listening in, taking notes. I've already made 5. So I think
I was going to say mine's checked off. Right. Like I clicked the wrong link.
As we were getting on this call, I hit my quota. Okay. So I'm good. I'm real good. Okay. Now we've given so many tangibles. We've got our cheat sheet. We've got our exposure therapy. Is there anything we didn't cover for the recovering perfectionists listening who, if they want to start today recovering from perfectionism, is there anything that we didn't cover that you want to make sure we tell them?
Yes. Self-compassion. Really leaning into kindness over judgment, right? And giving yourself grace as you go through the process. So perfectionists we are so hard on ourselves and we immediately go into that judge mindset. And so it's really learning the concepts of kindness over judgment, recognizing that other people have had similar experiences. You're not alone, right? So that, because when we go into isolation, that's where shaming will start to take hold. And so just really giving yourself some grace. Recognizing that as you work through this, it's not easy, right? Because these are patterns that have been there for a while. Being graceful with yourself, being kind to yourself, giving yourself permission to fumble, to maybe start and stop. That's really important as you go through the process of shifting.
So good. Kindness over judgment. And this like just brings me full circle to what we talked about in the beginning with the amnesia of like being born with amnesia. Like we know we're let me use words. We know who we're here to be, but we forget, and it's the purpose of life to remember. And so like that kindness is so imperative because we're actually supposed to make those mistakes in order to learn the lessons, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. We're growing through them, right? Our mistakes are not defining us. Our mistakes are just giving us permission to grow and evolve.
Oh my God. We have unmasked so many things here today. Full circle, full circle. This is so good. This is so good. All right. So this is the final question I ask every guest. Improve It is the name of the show. It's the name of our company. We always say that it is that thing that you were born here to do. Kamini, you came into the world, you had a purpose, and it is your job to remember what it is. What is that it?
For me, it is about it is about serving others in a way that allows them to see their own magnificence.
Mm-hmm. I love it so freaking much. And you can feel that. It's because that's why you learned all the modalities and got all the certifications, because you want to serve everybody to their individual selves, which is so awesome. So, okay, where can the Improve It peeps find you? How can they hire you as their coach? Tell us all the things.
Well, they can find me on the web, kaminiwood.com. And then I'm on Facebook and Instagram with the handle It's Authentic Me. And then, of course, on LinkedIn, just by my name.
So awesome. Just by my name, but just an awesome, awesome human to find, to connect with, to know. I'm so glad we had you on the show. I feel like this just was such a great, tangible, full circle moment. So thank you for all of the wisdom.
Thank you for having me. It's an amazing conversation.
Oh, all right. We'll have you back at some point. Thank you, Kamini. Improve It peeps. I could have talked to Kamini for 800 years. I say that a lot, but let me just say this. This conversation blew my mind, especially the cheat sheet, the values-based actions cheat sheet. So you heard Kamini walk through my core values and then creating some intentional actions through those core values. Just through my own example, I now have a cheat sheet to go to anytime I start future tripping, trying to hear my inner critic loud and clear. I have this cheat sheet that I can now use to guide me back to myself and ground myself in that moment. That is what I want you to do here today. I want you to think about what are your 4 to 5 core values? What are 3 intentional actions that you can do to ground yourself, realign yourself, keep it with you on your phone? And then I want you to share it if you feel comfortable. Okay, I know that's a big ask, but I would love to see your cheat sheets, because just know if you're listening to this show and you feel like a recovering perfectionist or people pleaser, a recovering people pleaser, you are so not alone. So not alone. A lot of people leaders actually have people pleasing tendencies, and that's okay. We can break through those patterns using some of these strategies here today. And if you like today's show, you know what I'm going to ask? Please leave us a 5-star review. And in that review, tell me what you liked. Tell me what you want more of. That is how we communicate. That is how I hear from you. Your review lets us know that you liked the show, and it also gives us more information to build content for you for the future. So you know what I'm going to say. Keep failing, keep improving, because this world needs that very special it that only you can bring. I'll see you next time. Improve it. Improve It Podcast.